Welcome to another episode of Biz Money Talks with Tracey Bissett. I am your host, Tracey Bissett, a financial coach for business owners and entrepreneurs, and it's really my privilege to help take the mystery out of money. Our show today, we are joined by a very special guest expert, Cynthia Mason. Welcome to the show, Cynthia.
Thank you for having me.
So Cynthia is a Canadian lawyer and trademark agent. She has a passion for helping businesses arm themselves with the information and tools necessary to own and protect their trademarks from copycats. And I'm really excited she's here today. We all work really hard on our businesses, but I don't think we necessarily always take the next steps to protect our businesses in the way that we should. And so, Cynthia, I'm going to turn it over to you to share a little bit about your background and about your company.
Thank you. Well, you summed it up. I'm a Canadian lawyer and trademark agent, and this is something that I've been doing for 20 years now. And I started out at a big Canadian law firm, and right from day one, working with trademarks. And one of the great things about kind of just being in the intellectual property field altogether is you work with some really creative and innovative people. And to be part of helping them really capitalize on their ideas and turn them into valuable revenue generating assets. It is a privilege. It's a lot of fun. It's, being a lawyer, but a lot of non-lawyer elements go into it. And so I couldn't have dreamed up a better career.
Excellent. Well, I can see your passion coming out. And so I know we're going to have a really great conversation today. Because as I said, as business owners, we spend a lot of time working on our brands, working on our assets, but we don't sometimes know that, number one, we need to protect them. And number two, where are we even going to start doing this? And so today we're going to really get into all of this kind of from a 101 standpoint and really moving on so that we can learn some tangible tips to help us. But when we're able to do that, we're able to then create steady recurring revenue, which ultimately drives profitability and steady cash flow, which makes me really happy with all of the business owners that I'm working with. And so we want to help more people be able to do that. And so to level set as we start our conversation, and we're all coming from the same place, what is a trademark? What can it protect? And if you could give us a little overview of the process. And I know that in a few minutes, you're only going to be able to give us the really close notes, but just so we can all start from the same place.
Absolutely. Well, a trademark it's what consumers, your customers, your potential customers are using to identify your products and services and really to distinguish them from your competitors. That's kind of this vague notion, and really anything can be a trademark when you look at it from that perspective. The most common trademarks are your name, a logo, tagline, particularly the name. This is what you're putting on your product packaging. You're putting it on your advertising. It's prominently featured on your website. It is the main trademark that people are using in order to find what you sell and find it over and over again and keep coming back and buying it over and over again, recommending it to their friends and their families. The name is it is your primary trademark, and it is the first thing. Oftentimes when you're creating a business, business owners like to dream a lot. I'm one. I've done plenty of dreaming. Mm-hmm. That is the first thing you come up with is, what am I going to call my business? And that is your first trademark. And so I find too, like you did it when you were asking the question, is a lot of people use the word trademark as a verb. It's actually a noun. It is a noun. And people, when I work with new business owners, I often, they'll call me and they'll say, I really need to trademark this. And I'm like, well, if you're actually already using it on products or in your advertising, you've already trademarked it. When you first start using your trademark, that is effectively, you've trademarked something. You've taken this name, you've taken a logo, and you're starting to use it to identify your products and services. And that is the act of trademarking. What you're really looking for is to register it as your trademark with, here in Canada, it's the Canadian Intellectual Property Office. In the United States, it's the USPTO. So you are taking your trademark and you're putting it on a national register, and that registration itself is giving you ownership of that trademark, that name, that logo, that tagline, or whatever it is that you're claiming. And it's granting you ownership of it throughout the country. So that is what people often consider to be trademarking, but really it's just registering your trademark. The process for doing that it's actually ridiculously long in Canada right now, but basically you file an application kind of setting out the specifications of your trademark. So what you're claiming as your trademark, what you're planning to sell in connection with this trademark, who's the owner, and then you file it with the Canadian Intellectual Property Office. In a couple of years, they will take a look at it and they will consider whether your trademark is actually a good one or if it's a little bit crummy, and they're going to have issues with whether you should be entitled to register it. If it's good, they'll approve it for public opposition. So if there's somebody else out there who thinks they have better rights than you, they have the opportunity to say, whoa, you should not be able to register that. I should be the one who owns it. Or it's confusing with what I've already registered, or any other. There are a number of different bases for opposition. If there's no oppositions, and in most cases there aren't, the application goes through to registration. The process itself in Canada takes about 3 years, because It's a really long wait to have the Trademarks Office even look at it. It's a little bit faster in the United States, about 12 to 18 months. But that is basically the process of registering your trademark.
Excellent. Well, I learned something new, certainly there. Noun, not a verb. Very important. So I'll certainly be talking about it a little bit differently. And when you work with business owners, are they Canadian-based business owners, or are they business owners in other countries?
Well, I work with both. I primarily work with Canadian businesses when they want to own and protect their trademarks here in Canada and in other countries. Okay. And the way I do that is I am authorized, and I'm a trademark agent, which means I'm allowed to talk to the Trademarks Office on a brand owner's behalf. When we want to take our Canadian clients' trademarks and protect them in other countries, we enlist the help of a local trademark attorney. So somebody who is authorized to deal with the Trademarks Office in their country on behalf of brand owners. But I also work with a lot of foreign companies who want to protect and own their trademarks here in Canada. So trademarks are country specific. So, if your business is exclusively in Canada, you're only going to want to protect it, own it, and protect it here. But if you're looking to export, you want to have customers in other countries, you have to protect your trademark in each country where you plan to do business.
Okay, so that's an important distinction. So I'm glad that you cleared that up. And so I imagine you spend a lot of your days educating business owners. What are some of the common myths or misconceptions that you hear about trademarks and protecting assets?
I think the biggest one that tends to really kind of disadvantage a business owner is they think because they have a registered business name, they own their name. It's actually not the case. A business name is the primary function of a business name registration, it's a directory listing, so that, if you've done something wrong or people want to find out who's behind a business name, there's a list of individuals, the directors, the the people who are behind a business, they're on a registry. Oftentimes it's provincial. So that business name registration, it does not grant you any right. You don't own the name because you've registered it as a business name. You don't even have the right to sell products or services in connection with that name. Those rights are granted by way of a trademark registration. So, I think it disadvantages a lot of business owners when they're not in the know right from the get-go. They're advised, well, you need to register your business name. Well, the same time you do that, you should apply to register your trademark, because the rights, they're not interchangeable. They work together. And when you only have a registered business name, you're leaving your ownership of that name and your right to use it throughout Canada is vulnerable. So that's one myth. The other, I'm trying to think the other myth, it's not so much a myth, but it's more so a mistake, and it's tied to that, is a lot of business owners really underestimate the value of a trademark registration when it comes to protecting their name, their logo, their other identifying, trademarks. And it really comes out when you encounter a problem. So you notice somebody else out there who's using something very similar, and you're like, whoa, wait a second, that's actually my trademark. Well, and then, you come to a lawyer, and the first thing we'll ask is, well, do you have a trademark registration for that? And you're like, well, no. And it's also a completely different legal analysis. And it's so much more difficult to stop people from using confusing names if you don't have a trademark registration. So, the value, the cost and benefit of a trademark registration far outweighs, any negative aspect to it. Like there really isn't a negative aspect to it, but that is one of the big
time or money spent.
Yeah. One of the, it's a mistake that a lot of business owners make, is they underestimate the value of a trademark registration. If they even know about it to begin with, they underestimate the value of it. They think, oh, that's something that I can do, when my business takes off or when I'm generating a profit. It's much more difficult to get a trademark. It can be more difficult to get a trademark registration if you wait than if you do it before you even launch, your business.
Absolutely. And so we're always balancing time, money, trying to do it ourselves. When should we engage professionals? So that's a really good example of a common mistake. Are there any others that come to mind when you think about business owners not necessarily engaging the right professionals at the beginning?
Yeah, well, as a brand owner, you are completely entitled. You are able to deal with the Trademarks Office. You don't have to hire a trademark agent to talk to the Trademarks Office. You can talk to them yourself as the brand owner. And, there are a lot of DIY trademark applicants. And, when it comes down to, are you going to not take any steps to register your trademarks, or because you can't afford it, or you're going to DIY it? I would say the better option is certainly to DIY it, because just taking the step is important, and it will get your rights on the register. But when it comes to DIYing it, and the value that a professional will bring to the whole process is, like I said, that trademark application, it needs to have the trademark, and it needs to have the applicant or who's going to own it. And more importantly, it needs to have a description of what you plan to sell in connection with this trademark. And there is a real strategy behind how you describe what you claim and how you describe it. And the Trademarks Office requires that you describe it in very specific terms. You have to describe your products and services, and you have to classify them in accordance with this international classification system, because the fees that you pay for that registration will ultimately depend on the number of classes that are in there. So you want to make sure that you are claiming the right classes, that you're claiming the right products. You want to describe them as broadly as possible, but within the confines of what the law will allow. And, I would take a wild stab at, there's a lot of business owners who DIY their trademark applications who have no idea how to do that.
I would think so.
Yeah. And you will encounter problems throughout the registration process. You for sure are going to get an objection from the Trademarks Office. And, when I said 3 years to register trademarks, that is when the process goes smooth.
I was just imagining in my head, like, I put in this application. Every time they come back to me, I don't know what it means. And then I'm trying to figure it out. And that could go on for even more years. But more than that, I'm probably consulting someone at that time when I would have been smarter to just get someone right up front and have them help me go through the whole thing.
Yeah. So, a professional will add a lot of value to the process. And there's a range of costs in terms of, professional services for registering trademarks. We, at Mason PC, we have a range of different costs. We have an online platform where we can, basically the component that we're helping you with is describing and classifying your products and services. So we built this online platform that you go through this process of selecting the categories of products and services that you're going to sell, and where you need to drill down and provide more details, we're giving you that information so that you're not filing a trademark application that's way out in left base and isn't left field, sorry, and isn't described properly. And whatever you put into that online platform, it automatically classifies it for you so that you're not getting the classes wrong. You're getting them right. You're getting the fees right. And your trademark application will go through. And I mean, that is kind of like our very base level service on what we'll do for you. And on the other end of the scale, we will work with you in terms of, we'll review your marketing plans. We'll review what you're currently doing. We'll look at your future plans. We'll interview you. We will kind of craft everything from, you should apply to register these as your trademarks. This is who the owner is. And these are the products and services and the classes that you should be in order to protect your business. And so, that is kind of like the range of services that you can get in terms of a professional help for registering your trademark. So, on the one hand, it's not expensive. Even you would be surprised that full level service is not expensive. From what you're going to end up at the end is national ownership of your trademark.
Excellent. And I can really see how fun it would be for you, because you're getting involved in so many different people's businesses and you get to learn about all different things and really help protect what they've created. We
love watching our new clients kind of launch and grow, and we follow them on social media. We are active consumers of our clients, and so we love to see them succeed, and we love to see how they're growing their names and doing so protected. So it is really fun.
Are there any specific mistakes you see with respect to new product owners that might be different than somebody with a service-based business?
Yeah, well, I would say one of the mistakes that both of them make, although it can be a lot more costly for a product business, is not doing your diligence before you launch and searching to make sure that the trademarks you are using on your products are actually available for you to use as a trademark. So basically, under the law in Canada, and the United States is the same, the first person to use a trademark, so the first person to use a name in connection with the sale of a product or a service, is the one who is entitled to own it as a trademark in the country. So, product owners will often, it takes time to develop a product and to launch it. They'll invest in the name. They've got packaging. They're kind of shoring up all of their branding. And of course, every business likes to have nice photos too. So you're investing a lot of money into launching your product. You need to make sure that the trademarks that you're using on those products aren't already in use by somebody else, and not just the identical trademark, but like ones that are similar in appearance, sound, and suggested ideas, because these concepts all kind of fall under the analysis of whether there is a likelihood of confusion between two names. And so it is really important that you conduct searches before you adopt a new trademark and you start selling something, because if you start using a trademark and it's confusing with somebody else's, you could be liable for trademark infringement. You're going to have to rebrand. You're going to have to throw out everything you've invested in terms of your packaging and your advertising and start fresh. And so it is expensive. The risks are expensive if you don't do that level of diligence. It's a little different with a service provider. I mean, you could still be liable for trademark infringement, but when you're a service provider, it's a little bit easier to change your branding than if you have to change packaging.
Absolutely. And then especially if people are only identifying a product by the packaging and the name, and now you've lost all of those customers that you built up because you've made a change versus me, for instance. I'm still going to be Tracey Bissett, service provider. So even if my name is a little bit different of what I'm offering, it's still Tracey Bissett, and people will know that. So that's a really good one. And I have to say, I don't hear too many business owners having those kinds of dialogues as they're getting started. That's probably like way down the list, if it's even on the list. And that's why I'd raised it earlier about not even knowing that we need to be focused on this at the beginning is a challenge.
And often, well, not often, but it has happened in more instances than I certainly we don't like to see it. And, the reality is the vast majority of business owners wait until they've been selling something for between 1 to 3 years. And, at about that point where they're their business is really starting to take off. They've hustled, they've been out there marketing it, and their sales are really starting to explode. That's when they come to us and they say, oh, well, I should trademark this. And it's like, well, yeah, you should have.
3 years ago.
But, we'll do the search when we file trademark applications, because it takes so darn long in order to the trademarks office to look at it. We do a search beforehand so that we make sure there isn't going to be something that jumps up in a couple of years that will really impair your ability to register a trademark. And so we do the search, and when we identify things on the trademarks register that are going to be an obstacle to that trademark, 3 years in, that's a problem. If you had done it right at the very beginning, you could have dealt with it before you've invested 3 years into growing that brand. And so they're really, do it early. It's so much easier and so much better for your business, and for the long-term value of your brand. You don't want to keep changing it. You really want it to be consistent, and every ounce of effort you put into growing it and marketing it, you want to contribute to the value that you're building.
Absolutely. Well, that is excellent. And I'm sure those who are watching live or catching it on the replay, that is a huge takeaway that everybody's jotting down. Now, with the pandemic, hopefully we're going to come through it this fall as we're into fourth wave in Canada, but we're looking ahead to brighter days. But most businesses went online during the pandemic in order to not only bolster sales, keep sales going, but to also look for new revenue streams. What are some best practices for protecting your business online?
Well, the first one is, again, I don't want to harp at a dead horse here, but trademark registrations.
Absolutely.
Online there are so many, 20 years ago, when somebody's using a name that's similar to yours and it's causing confusion, you have to take them to court in order to stop, get an injunction and get them to stop. And that still, you have to do that in order to get them to stop in all venues. But when you're dealing exclusively online, all of the online platforms, Amazon, Etsy, any of the online marketplaces where you're selling products, and all of the social media platforms where you are using your trademarks and your brand, they all have their own intellectual property infringement procedures. And so as a brand owner, you notice somebody on Instagram's got a page that's, kind of incorporating your name or something very, very similar. You're in the same kind of geographical area. You're in the same industry. You can submit a complaint to Instagram and ask them to take that down. So you don't have to wait for the other side to say, oh, you're right. No, Instagram will do it for you. But in order to make use of those procedures, you need to have a trademark registration. The trademark registration proves that you are the owner of that trademark and that other company is not. And so, trademark registration really is the most valuable tool that you can have in order to protect your name, your logo, your taglines online. The other, critical element to kind of protecting yourself in the online field is you really need to be looking constantly at who's using your intellectual property. You need to be doing regular searches of all of the online platforms where your customers are looking for you or potentially looking for you. You need to be constantly searching to see who is using something very similar. And if they are, kind of infringing upon your rights, then you need to take swift action in order to shut it down, because, online it's fickle and people will go to the easiest, it's like water. They'll go to the easiest route. And if somebody is using a property that's very similar to yours, your customers can easily be kind of diverted and try something new. And that's not what you want as a business owner. So, trademark registration and continuous monitoring of what's happening online is really key to protecting your business online.
Is there any easy way to do that monitoring online? Like, just what came to mind when you were talking about it is maybe if I set up some Google alerts with even like keywords from my business name or the way I describe things, or even my tagline. Is that an effective way, or is there something else you'd suggest?
It is. Well, Google Alert will do it. You get a lot, depending, on what your name is or what you're searching, you will get a lot of results with Google's Google Alerts. I mean, there's the other big lesson. If you want to make monitoring simple, use a really unique trademark. Don't use something descriptive or suggestive or generic, because certain monitoring will be practically impossible. But yeah, Google Alerts, just regular searches, once a month you're scrolling through Instagram, well, search your trademark and see who's using it. If you are a product seller and you're on Amazon, sign up for their brand registry. They'll do a lot of work for you just by, we have to have a trademark registration though. They will do some of the enforcement work for you and monitoring for you if you've signed up for their registry. So there are tools available to make it a little bit more simple. But yeah, one of them is just regularly search. You can also hire a professional. Like we do monitoring for a lot of our clients. We have kind of software that we use in order to troll the internet for instances of their trademark. It's not available for everybody, but for the trademarks that are unique, and we will do that for you, and we'll send you a report every month on what appears. We'll classify something as low risk, high risk, and we really need to take action and shut this one down immediately. So those are services that are available to brand owners, or you can do it yourself, like while you're, scrolling through social.
Excellent. Well, I think that's really helpful, and people can put that into action immediately today. You've talked to us a little bit already about your online platform, but tell us about Markably, how it was started, who it helps, and a little bit more about the services it provides.
Yeah, well, like I said, it is an online platform to help business owners, and it really is geared towards, new entrepreneurs, because, yes, as a new entrepreneur, you are prioritizing your time, you're prioritizing your budget. And we don't want trademark registrations to be the thing that you kind of put to the wayside because you don't have the budget for it. So we wanted to really make a lower cost way to get your products and services properly classified and described in accordance with the law. These are 80% of trademark objections when it comes to the registration process have to do with how products and services are described and classified. And so, like I said, not a lot of business owners know the classification system. They don't know the rules about describing things. And so we wanted to make a specific product that would enable trademark owners, business brand owners to clear that out without forcing them to go through the process of researching how to do it. So that is what it is. It is an online platform that you can use for just that specific purpose, to give you a little bit of help in properly describing what's going into your trademark application. And then once you file it, you take it from there. But we also offer, the full service is very much, okay, well, use the platform in order to kind of describe it and file it. But we'll also work as your agent. We'll talk to the trademarks office for you. And if there are any issues, we'll deal with them for you. And so it really is kind of just, that is very much similar to just, give us a phone call and we'll do it for you. That's kind of like an in-between, do it yourself and we'll do it, the whole shebang for you. And so that is what Markably offers. It is a trademark registration platform.
That's really cool. We saw the need in the market and created something that would be affordable and help a lot more people. So that's really exciting. And when did it start, Markably?
Well, we launched it at the beginning of 2020. So
perfect timing.
It was good timing. January 2020. It is, trademark law is constantly evolving. And so is how you describe products and services. It's a constant evolution. And so, the database or the platform itself is constantly evolving. And we kind of have it right now where we're going through a little bit of a change in the back end. We watched how people use it, and we watched where kind of the friction points are, and we're improving the process. We've actually cut out a couple of the steps that aren't necessary as much as others. And so right now the platform is down, although we're still offering it. We're just kind of doing it on the back end. Instead of you kind of putting everything in, we'll put it in for you. But that is the future plan for it. Within the next month or two, actually, we're going to have it relaunched in a much more simplified process. But yeah, it is. yeah, that's where it started a little over a year ago, and it's kind of evolving and kind of getting better, and it's a pretty exciting venture.
Yeah, very exciting. Congratulations. To take something that's been around for a lot of years to make it into something really user-friendly, which is great.
Well, the trademark registration process is very, it's prescribed. Everybody that goes into it has a very different business, and they have very different business plans, but they kind of have to all follow the same path. And so we are experts in navigating that path. And there are elements of it that can be automated and elements of it that really require some professional input. And so, Markably is the blend between that. It is putting as much, automation into the process as possible, but still, building a database of products and services that people can use and draw upon in order to get their trademarks approved quickly.
Excellent. Now, before I let you go, are there any final tips for the business owners who are watching or catching us on replay? Whether it's something you've already mentioned that you really want to reinforce to make sure that they take it away, or something new that you want to leave us with?
Well, I think you can all guess. I'm just going to say it again. Register your trademarks. Register your name, register your logo. If you're using a tagline and you don't want other people to use it, to register that. Like, take the steps to register your trademarks. If you encounter difficulties and you encounter people who are using something very similar, you are with much better tools and abilities to make them stop if you've registered your trademark. It's not something that you can do overnight. It takes almost 3 years to get finished. So, if you notice somebody using something similar tomorrow, a trademark registration is not going to help you if you just have to file it right now. So don't underestimate the value of a trademark registration when it comes to protecting those elements that your customers and the public are using in order to find your products and services. And it is, the trademark registration too it's taking this kind of concept of a claim of legal rights to a name and turning it into a tangible asset. And so that asset you can use as security for financing. You can sell it, you can license it. There are so many different things that you can do with your trademark assets. But in order to turn them into assets, you have to register them. And so that is the main message here is, every business who's operating in Canada should have a registered trademark.
Excellent. So in case people didn't get the message, register your trademark.
Yeah.
Perfect.
In the back, register it.
And so you've talked to us about what's to come with Markably. Is there anything else that you're working on now? And before I let you go, how can people learn more about you and Mason PC and Markably?
Well, we are a growing team. And so we actually just launched, a newly designed website at masonpc.com. And our focus over the next, forever really, but over the next, couple of months at least, is we are really focusing on educating business owners about protecting their brand and how they can do it, right from, the point where you have an idea to you're going to sell your business and sell your brand. And, we're focusing very heavily on the educational component. We are putting up new content all the time on the website. You can sign up for, the newest updates. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I'm there. I love LinkedIn. It's one of the platforms where I'm on it every day. And I love messaging people about how they can be, protecting their names. Follow us on Instagram. We're there too at Mason PC Trademarks. So really the next focus is on the educational component, because when it comes to convincing business owners that they need to really take the steps to protect their trademarks, it often is just a case of, I didn't realize that a trademark registration would do that for me, and I'm not actually protected. And so that is our focus, is really educating business owners on the value of a trademark registration and then what they do once they have one. So that is our focus, is educating people. And if you want your own specific discussion about what you should do, and you want us to take a look at your marketing, and we can give you a very quick strategy session, we offer a free 15-minute discovery call with every new client. You can book it directly through our website. that is the best part of my day, is really when I have the opportunity to talk to business owners directly and to kind of give them, the right path to be going on, and what they want to kind of prioritize in their budget and in their strategy.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia, for joining us today. I know I'm certainly taking away a lot of insights. One big one, which I'm certainly going to make aware to everybody I talk to, because I get lots of questions about how do I set up a corporation and what do I do to get my business started. So not only register your name, but also then protect that name as well and have it kind of a dual path process. So making sure we're protecting our names, our logos, our taglines, educating people and knowing how important this registration is, so we're not underestimating what that could mean to us. Making sure that we're consulting professionals, as I advocate all the time in the financial side. Certainly doing nothing is not a great option. So if the budget allows, do it yourself. And certainly as you can, make use of a professional to really help you nail that down, to make sure that you're protected. And the other thing that was super key that you mentioned is that ongoing monitoring. Because I think sometimes people are getting the registration and then it's just kind of putting it in a drawer, not really monitoring what's going on. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of your insights with us.
Thank you for having me. Like I said, I love helping businesses really arm themselves with the information and the tools that they need in order to succeed.
That's wonderful. And then certainly that shone through in our chat today. So thank you. For those who want to keep the conversation going, we do have our weekly Biz Money Club sessions where we get together regularly, just informal chats. You can register at bizmoneyclub.com. So to keep talking about your business, which is great. And we do have some special financial training coming up in September, kicking off September 20th, I believe is the date. And you can get registered at bizpeace.com. And we're certainly going to walk through your role as a business owner, navigating stakeholder money conversations, digging into pricing, whether it be the technical or the mindset piece, and so much more. So I hope that you will join us there. Until next time, take good care and stay financially fit.